Gentlemen, let's broaden our minds.
The truth! Just set you free! You can't handle the truth! We came, we saw, we kicked its ass!
That's not how the Force works. Oh, really, you're cold?
I'm gonna make him an offer again.
I'd buy that for $1.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did I break your concentration?
Hasta la vista, baby.
I don't have friends. I got family.
Surely you can't be serious.
I am serious. And don't call me Shirley.
I can do this all day.
Yeah, I know.
Hello and welcome to the Creative Control Movie Podcast. Thank you for joining us for our latest episode. And this week we're going to be discussing the Oscars 2022. And we're going to be going through all the nominees in the major categories and giving our thoughts, feelings on it and our predictions. So we're going to do a little bit of a scoring thing where we are going to discuss who we want to win the Oscar and who we actually think is going to win the Oscar and look at that variance. We're going to do a follow-up episode in a couple of weeks' time with the Oscars next week on the 27th. See how close we were, see who was robbed and see who was worthy winners. Joining me on today's show, we have a series regular Sacha, and back after quite a bit of an absence, we have Greg. Welcome, gentlemen.
Hello.
Good to have you. Good to have you. Bit of a disclosure: we did actually do a first recording of this a couple of weeks ago, and it wasn't until we started doing this episode that Sacha and I and a couple of the others on it were like, we've really not seen many films that are actually on the Oscars list this year. So we actually just kind of went away and we watched a bunch of stuff, feeling that we needed to catch up, and then it was just a case of, you know what, should we go back and redo that? We're like, yeah, I think it's right. Now we've got a little bit more informed, because otherwise that was a very dead episode. It's like, have you seen this? Have you seen this? Nope.
However,
nope.
For nostalgia's sake, I should point out that I have continued to not have seen many of the films. So
Yes.
we'll support the OG recording cast. So
Absolutely. But I think the thing about this year's Oscars is we have 10 films in the Best Picture category, and I think maybe I saw probably less than half of them at the time. But then we also have a lot of categories where you have Best Supporting Actor, Supporting Actress, and stuff like that. And their performances are in films, not even in the Best Picture nomination. So there's actually quite a wide range of films this year to cover all the different aspects. And I think, it's one of these years where films, a lot of them on streaming services, with obviously Netflix and Amazon, and you have the separation in America, obviously with Disney and Hulu. Then you've got cinema releases, and it's just kind of a little bit all over the place. So some of the movies are a little bit trickier to find as well, to watch and stuff like that. But yeah, we're here. We're going to go through it. And well, where should we start? Okay, so I've created a spreadsheet so I can keep track of this. So we're going to just go through the spreadsheet, really. So let's talk about actor in a supporting role. So the nominees that we have for actor in a supporting role is Troy Kotsur for Coda, Cody Smith-McPhee for The Power of the Dog, J.K. Simmons for Being the Ricardos, Kieran Hinds for Belfast, and Jesse Plemons for The Power of the Dog. So I'll tell you what, let's start with you, Greg. Have you seen any of these films and performances?
I haven't seen Coda at all. I've seen The Power of the Dog. So that's good because that makes up two of them here. I haven't had a chance to see Being the Ricardos yet, though I have seen clips of it as such. And again, I haven't had a chance to see Belfast, so once again, I'm not the most informed. But I can.
But to be honest, that's probably a lot of our audience. So anybody listening is, Coda, Coda. I don't even know if it got a big cinema release. To be honest, I don't even know if it's hit cinemas over here yet. Being the Ricardos was an Amazon Prime movie. And Belfast was only just released here back in, I think, February. So again, unless you've made that special trip out to go see it, it's hasn't been around that long to see. So. Okay, so from what you've seen and what you've maybe heard, where do you see this one going?
It's hard because a lot of what I'm going to sort of consider when looking at actors and actresses and be it in supporting or main role is are they just being themselves? Are they kind of dependable and good, or are they doing something that is stretching my sort of understanding of what they can do? And when we get to actor, I'm going to be looking at it more like that. But with this, Jesse Plemons has always been very, very good and dependable, from, mainstays like Breaking Bad to, he's become more and more on the radar over the last sort of 10 years and stuff, and more stuff. So I thought he was very good in Power of the Dog, but I knew less about Cody Smith-McPhee. I can't even remember what he used to be in. He was a child actor, wasn't he? And then he's
Nightcrawler in the X-Men movie.
I think you're right there. I'll probably...
That's what he was, yeah, see? Which didn't exactly show his range. So, yeah, I thought it was good in this. So I like The Power of the Dog, and I think it will do very well. But I think in these, someone like Kieran Hines is going to sort of probably clear up in this category, I think. But it's hard to say because Power of the Dog is getting a lot of love for the Oscars. So yeah, if it was a case of going for who I think's gonna win, there's a good chance it'll be one of the Power of the Dog, probably Jesse Plemons. But I personally think that Kieran Hines should have it. But yeah, and of course J.K. Simmons is excellent in everything he does. But from the clips I've seen of him and being the Ricardos, it's no whiplash. So
yeah. Okay, so Sasha, where are you sitting on actor in a supporting role?
Troy Costa or Kieran Hines was good, and Cody Smith-McPhee are the strong contenders. Jesse Plemons didn't really bring anything to the role of Power of the Dog. He was just kind of there. He's been better in other things. And J.K. Simmons was just J.K. Simmons for about 10 minutes in being the Ricardos. He didn't bring anything to the role other than just him being himself. He probably did more as J. Jonah Jameson, the Spider-Man trilogy, and probably even more in Whiplash, to be fair. So I just think it's just a nomination for him just being J.K. Simmons, to be quite honest. Do I think anyone's been snubbed? I can't think of anyone for best supporting at the top of my head. Maybe maybe in other categories, but yeah, I think the ones that I mentioned are probably the ones that I'd like to see get it. I don't have a particular person out of those three because they were all really good performances. I think that it looks like Power of the Dog is aimed to clean up shop, so I think the favourite's probably Cody Smith-McPhee. If he got it, I don't have a problem with it because I thought he was very, very good in that movie. But Troy Costa, to do what he did without being able to speak, that's some next level skill. And actually, now that I've said that out loud, that I really like Coda as well. That was a really good movie. That's who I'd like to win.
So do you think Troy might be your want?
Yeah, because come on, man, the guy can't even speak like in real life and stuff, but like he conveyed so much emotion on screen without saying a syllable. Obviously he's using sign language and stuff, and the power of his face. I mean, like that guy made not speaking an art, man, because like the only person that could do that was fucking Roger Moore, and not a good example. Not a good example. Those eyebrows, man. But no, those.
I've not seen Coda. This sounds fascinating.
Yeah, it's a really good film. It's about this girl that wants to pursue her dreams and stuff. Like I think she's gone for a scholarship at school in singing, and her whole family's deaf, and she's the only person that isn't deaf in the family. And obviously they don't understand her love of singing because they can't experience it. They can only go by what people say around her. And the thing is, they kind of look to her. She's like more or less a grown-up, if that makes sense, because she's had to look after her family by conveying information for them, for their family business and day-to-day life and stuff. It's a really good kind of film, really. Yeah.
I can tell you that the Oscars do like to occasionally throw out a wild card for something different. They're trying to be fairly woke occasionally, and if there is a performance which is completely non-verbal, it might be a case of you might get it for being something that is so different. As you say, J.K. Simmons is excellent, but he's kind of in the Meryl Streep sort of category of now. Well, nominate him because he's such a good actor. And Jesse Plemons, as you said, Jesse Plemons is dependable and good. But yeah, if there is something that is a wild card, and I admit I've not seen a single bit of it, then that might surprise it, which would be refreshing, really, to show that acting doesn't have to be just about chewing the scenery. So
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, for me, yeah, I mean, you'll hear throughout this podcast, I'm not a huge fan of The Power of the Dog. I think it's not that it's necessarily a bad film, but I think it's way overhyped and the recognitions that it's kind of gotten. In terms of performances, yeah, J.K. Simmons, he's probably only got about 10, 15 minutes screen time in total in that movie. What he does is fine. You know, it is nice and heartwarming and, you know, he is quite funny. And obviously what Being the Ricardos is it's based on 1 week of I Love Lucy, famous television show in America, 40, 50 million viewers or something at one point. And it's kind of behind the scenes, and he's one of the lead characters in that show, and then showing you behind the scenes his interactions. But so, yeah, it's very decent. You know, the two, yeah, I think for me, Jesse Plemons, again, it was, you could say it was a very understated performance, but for me, it left no emotion, it left no feelings or anything towards it. I think out of the two, for me, yeah, Cody Smith McPhee is the better of them. But yeah, my two favorite performances out of those is Kieran Hinds for Belfast. I thought he was fantastic in that. Sort of like he is the grandpa to the young child and giving him, you know, advice. And he's almost like a surrogate dad because his dad's away working in England while they're back in Belfast. And just a really, really strong performance. But yeah, for me, Troy Kotsur for Coda, just phenomenal. As soon as I saw that movie, I was like, give this man all the awards that was them. So Troy is definitely the one I'd want to win. As who I think is going to win, I actually think the Academy is going to go with Troy on this one. Maybe it might be a sense of guilt in terms of what the movie's about, and you know, guilt towards a disability. We never know, but I think this is probably the one category where Power of the Dog might miss out. And I think he might win it, but maybe for the wrong reasons, if that makes sense. But I hope people are voting it for the right reasons because the performance is that strong. So I'm actually going to go with Troy for who I think will actually win it as well. Hopefully that'll be a nice surprise.
What would be interesting is looking in our reflection sort of episode in the future is will there be, if he does win it, and fingers crossed it does based on what you guys say is an excellent performance. Again, I haven't seen it. Will there be a backlash of people going, oh, it's only because of this now, or will people take it on its face value? So
yeah, no, exactly. I mean, he's won some of the smaller awards around the circuits and stuff like that, so it's not that he hasn't picked up anything. So it wouldn't be a complete shock either, I think, if he was to pick it up as well. So to recap, so I've gone for Troy Kotsur for Want and Actual. Sacha's gone for Troy for Want, but Cody Smith McPhee for Actual. Greg, you've gone for Kieran Hinds for Want, but Actual Jesse Plemons.
Actually, my actual is either of the boys and Power of the Dog. I just think Power of the Dog is going to clean up.
Either of those?
All right, cool. Because, yeah, I didn't articulate my point, but I think that he's less known for being good and therefore will stick out more. But or he's just less known, not less known for being good, just less known. I'm with you. I mean, as we go forward, you'll see that I'm the same. I thought Power of the Dog was okay, but I think it's just, you know, things like the Ballad of Buster Scraggs a year or two ago was much better as a Western, and with much better standout performances from people like, you know, Melling and things. But yeah, we'll see how it goes.
Okay. Right. So let's move on to Best Supporting Actress then. So our nominees in this category, we've got Jessie Buckley for The Lost Daughter. We got Ariana DeBose for West Side Story, or DeBoss. Judy Dench for Belfast. Kirsten Dunst for The Power of the Dog. I don't know why. And Anna Julie Ellis for King Richard. I hope I've pronounced that right. Okay, I'll kick this one off. So I have seen all these films. The Jessie Buckley, fine, but The Lost Daughter for me was very over the top and dramatic and arty for the sake of it. The message for me wasn't great in it, and she was fine in it, but that wasn't the driving force of that movie at all. Judy Dench, unfortunately, is Judy Dench, and it very much feels like her in the movie. You know, it doesn't necessarily, like you were saying previous, Greg, you know, some actors are just, they do their thing and it's great because they're great performers. But do they do anything different or extra, which takes it outside the box? No, not for me. But, not that she wasn't lovely in it. Kirsten Dunst, I don't know where this nomination came from. I don't rate her as an actress at all, personally. So that's, there's nothing much I want to say more about that because it would just be mean. The performance in King Richard, it was fine. Shakespeare is always, can always be tricky, and, Shakespeare stuff will attract attention when it comes to mainstream movies. But again, sorry, I'm talking about King Richard.
I think you're thinking of
a completely different movie.
Yeah,
I'm thinking exactly.
Yeah,
sorry, of King Richard. Sorry, the Williams sisters. Yeah, sorry, completely different movie. King Richard. She was fabulous. She was really, really good in it. Her on-screen balance with Will Smith was fantastic. You believed in their relationship. You believed in her passion. And I think, she definitely holds her own in that movie. So full praises for that. I think, however, in terms of what they brought to the role, Ariana DeBose for West Side Story just knocked it out of the park. Her acting, her performing, the switching between languages, kind of had everything for me. So for me, what she brought to that performance and that role, she was probably the big standout of it. So, the two leads were good, but she was the best thing in this movie. So I'm going to go with Ariana DeBose. Who do I think will win? I actually think it might be her as well. I think I've heard some good buzz about that and that performance. And so, I think I'm going to go with both on this one as well. Sasha, what do you reckon?
So I need to look at the list. Okay, so honestly, everyone on this list, are we looking at supporting, yeah? Yes, supporting.
Supporting actress,
I agree. Yeah, Lost Daughter, that's 2 hours of my life I'm not going to get back. Judy Dench, agree with everything you say. Kirsten Dunst, well, she wasn't given much to do in that, to be honest. She's like, that's kind of, to be honest, there's a lot of actresses that could have been nominated, you know what I mean, and has lost the spot to all of these people that really don't deserve to be on here. I think they're only on there because the films are good. You know what I mean? Like, there's been a lot of performances that's like, that, on many films where a lot of people could have been nominated on this list. The standout for me is the King Richard one. How'd you pronounce the name? I don't want to butcher it. On John Ellis.
No, I'm not too sure as well.
Okay. Well, I butchered it anyway. But anyway,
John Ellis.
Yeah,
that's what I'm going to go with.
Yeah. Out of those ones, that's the standout for me personally. But thinking about Ariana DeBose, you're right. You're absolutely right. I think she's probably going to clean up that. I mean, compared to the competition, it's between those two because they are the strongest performance. And Ariana's probably going to clean up shop on that one. But I'm confused why the other three are even in the pecking order there. But that's just me. I do.
Yeah, I agree.
No, that's more a lead thing. Okay,
Greg.
come on.
Oh, go on, Sasha.
No. I had someone in mind, but it was more a lead role than a supporting. But yeah.
Okay. Greg, what about yourself?
I'm pretty much agree with both of you, especially you, Kenan. I again, Kirsten Dunst, I thought was Kirsten Dunst, and I don't mean that in the same way as I think that Judy Dench was being Judy Dench, because Judy Dench is, this is amazing, and Kirsten Dunst was underwhelming, and I agree with that. I think I messaged such the exact phrase you used, which is that's 2 hours of my life I'm not getting back when it came to The Lost Daughter. We were recommended it by Corin and I, and we watched it, and just were like, we had to break it up into doing it in two sort of slots, and Yeah, but that said, I think Jessie Buckley was the best thing in it, which is quite a statement considering Olivia Coleman is amazing. But Olivia Coleman is amazing in everything, and in this, she was just Olivia Coleman. She was good and dependable, but she didn't do anything, and I think she's done a lot better things. But that's more actress. So that said, yeah, I think Jessie Buckley was the best thing in this and was very good and was doing very well considering the film itself was just bad. But I also agree with both of you that I think that the person who should win it is Ariana DeBose, and the person who will probably win is Ariana DeBose. She was excellent. She was, again, the best thing in West Side Story, and I really enjoyed West Side Story. So I think Judy Dench is the one person that might steal it from Ariana DeBose, but I don't think she will. I think it's the year for her. I think musicals have been well received as of late, and I think it'll do well. I don't think it'll do well in many other categories, unfortunately, because of the love for Power of the Dog. But I think this is hers to lose. So
for me, there's two performances in actually one movie, which I think either of could have been in this, which is Anna Taylor-Joy and Thomasin McKenzie for Last Night in Soho. I think either of them could have been kind of in this. Again, particularly probably Anna Taylor-Joy. She should have been in ahead of Kirsten Dunst.
Yeah, I agree.
For sure.
Agreed.
For me, so there's so that's just one person in particular who kind of springs to mind. You could even argue, just trying to think, if you're looking at performances, you could even say, if you look at Don't Look Up, which has been nominated, and
I'd have put
there's a couple of performances in there.
At least two people on that list there. I think Jessie Buckley was okay, and I think I've said my thing on Kirsten Dunst. So I think that doesn't get the love it should do. I think she was very good in that. So
okay, cool. All right, let's move on. So we'll go to actor in a leading role now. So for our nominees, we have Javier Bardem for Being the Ricardos, Benedict Cumberbatch for The Power of the Dog, Andrew Garfield, Tick Tick Boom, Will Smith for King Richard, and Denzel Washington for The Tragedy of Macbeth, which is a film I was getting confused with King Richard. So those are our 5 nominations. Sacha, we'll come to you first.
Okay, so straight off the bat, there are a lot of these are okay performances. Denzel brings in not one of his strongest in this. He's good in this, but usually when Denzel Washington's nominated, he's going to win and he's going to blow the socks off of everyone. But he's up against Will Smith at his best. Will Smith is renowned for being Big Willie Smith, Fresh Prince, in just about every movie. But every now and again, he'll whoop out a really good, phenomenal performance that makes you think, why don't you do more of this, dude? Just keep that shit for Bad Boys. You know what I mean? It's your franchise thing. And actually just go for it, because he's done it about 3 times over with what was it, Ali? Even though I didn't like Ali, I appreciated his performance. What's the one with
his performance,
which was Jaden Smith's? Yes, fantastic movie. Probably one of his best roles ever. Okay, and I think the biggest Will Smith thing that never came to fruition was Django Unchained, because that was written for him. He was supposed to be the Jamie Foxx role, but he wanted it. He wanted to have the one-liners, so it could be more like a Will Smith film. And I think if he gave a very subtle performance, the way Jamie Foxx owned that film, that Best Actor would have, that would have cleaned up maybe, because 1, it's a kick-ass film, and 2, Will Smith not, playing against type. So it's very rare when he does that. And when he does, he's usually very, very good. And King Richard, he owns it. He owns it. But the stiff competition here, because there are 2 people that I'm really rooting for. If Will Smith gets it, I have no problem with that. Andrew Garfield in Tick Tick Boom fucking owns that whole fucking movie. What a performance, man. And for a guy that didn't know how to sing before going in, shit, man. Kind of gives every person hope, man. But that was a phenomenal film, phenomenal performance. When I look at Javier Bardem, although I enjoyed his performance, it was just him him being him, if that makes sense, with a really good script. And same goes with Benedict Cumberbatch. I mean, Benedict Cumberbatch is a phenomenal actor, but Power of the Dog, he's done better. He's been nominated for better. I just think he's just there because he is renowned. He's reached that stratosphere now where he is that Oscar contender that you kind of expect him. You know what I mean? And I just think the film was in the running anyway for Best Picture. And they looked at who was in there and it was like, oh, it's got Benedict Cumberbatch. Well, he's got a leading man's role.
I think Netflix threw a lot of money at this.
Yeah, of course they did.
To be in terms of,
and I mean, there are a lot of films that came out this year that probably, like I thought Clint Eastwood in Cry Macho was really good, snubbed. And it was also kind of like, that's one he came out of retirement for. It was like, actually, you know what? This is my last hurrah. You know what I mean? And that was a good movie. I mean, I think the performance deserves an Oscar. I don't think the movie should have been Best Picture or anything, but the performance was real good. Another one, this is the biggest snub, Johnny Depp for Minimata. Fantastic movie. Great movie. His best performance in years where he's not fucking going, hey, look at me, I'm Jack Sparrow, or doing some ooky kooky fucking shit. He got snubbed for obvious reasons, which I'm not going to go into because we want this podcast to get loads of clicks, but JD should have cleaned up. But yeah, and Adam Driver, man. House of Gucci. Hell, even The Last Duel, whatever the hell it's called. Like
Last Duel, yeah.
Adam, maybe it's because he was nominated last year or the year before or something. That's probably why he's not in the running. But that's a guy that consistently puts in a decent fucking effort and not on here. So, there's a couple of people where I'd be like, hang on, what's going on, guys? Come on, what's going on? But it looks like, I think Will Smith is going to win, personally. Or it could just be, or it could just be Cumberbatch because of the way Netflix are pushing Power of the Dog. I don't think Denzel was strong enough this year, to be quite honest. After watching Tragedy of Macbeth, good performance, good film, but ideally, when you're up against these actors here, and if that's the run-in, not the strongest on the list, and that's actually quite surprising for Denzel, But Smith is really putting his all, and fucking Garfield's phenomenal, man. So yeah, that's my 2 cents.
Okay. So who's your final pick of who you want to win it?
Oh, you know what? I'm fine with either Will Smith or Garfield. I can't pick out of those two, man. They're both out of everyone. They're the two that deserve to be on the list. The rest of them need to get out. I don't know what they're doing there. Personally.
Okay. And do you think Will Smith will win it then? Do you think Will will finally take it home?
You know what? The way these things work, maybe Will might take it home because he's been nominated but not won. If you're coming at that angle, but Garfield is really good. But then maybe it might be like this would be his second nomination, though. Didn't he get it for the Facebook movie, Social Network? I think he did. I think he was nominated.
I think for supporting actor.
Yeah, for supporting actor.
I was supporting, so not as opposed to a lead, but yeah.
I think they both have a healthy chance, to be quite honest. I don't think there's a one over the other. But that's just me, because they're both very good in very different ways. So that's just me anyway. But I can't pick. It's Sophie's choice there. So
cool. Greg, what about yourself?
So if there was a category that we were going to be doing that I was hoping you were going to come to me first, it was this one, simply because I knew that if Sacha went first, then I would sound like I had no original ideas at all.
Oh, sorry, bro.
No, not at all. No, it's you're moderator, you get to pick. But I'd like to point out that I'm not just saying the same shit as Sacha for the sake of it. I have had a very formulated argument in my head. It just happens to be identical to Sacha's in this case, as it was kind of to yours in the last category. I think I'm just on the page, you guys. But I think that yeah, pretty much mirroring what he says. I think if you do a Shakespeare thing, especially if it's Macbeth or Hamlet, you will get nominated every single year, and you will very rarely win because normally it is just a case of doing it almost as a vanity exercise. It's almost expected to be nominated, and I don't think it wins most of the time because it's, you know, everyone's played Hamlet, everyone's played Macbeth, but Denzel Washington, as I said, isn't as good as he can be in other things. He's nowhere near his best, I think, Training Day and stuff. Like you, I'm not a big fan of Power the Dog. I don't think it was brilliant. I think it was good. I just think it was all right. And I think Benedict Cumberbatch was doing American Benedict Cumberbatch. Haven't really seen Being the Ricardos. But yeah, I think that I agree 100% that Will Smith will win it this year, maybe because it's his time. As you said, he's had a couple of really good roles that are against type, Pursuit of Happiness and things. It is his time to be the new Leonardo DiCaprio of like, oh, he's deserving of it now, I think. And in this case, he really is deserving. But again, like Sacha, I loved Tick, Tick, Boom, and I think Andrew Garfield was phenomenal. So by far the one I want to win is Andrew Garfield. I think it would really put a sort of a pigeon amongst the proverbial apple cart and stuff, and it would be very deserving. He's, you know, singing amazingly. If I can digress and say, I don't think it's one of the things you're doing. I don't think you're doing songs, you know, or score songs or anything like the best songs. But I think that the song he sings that's used in all the promotional stuff, 30, I think that's shocking that that's not up for best song. And yet Billie Eilish, No Time to Die and things like that are, which it's Bond theme. It's an all right one. It's not Madonna's one, which was awful, and it's not Shirley Bassey. It's just okay. But yeah, I think Tick, Tick, Boom was a phenomenal movie. I think it was a great portrayal, and the guy has just really sort of gone out of his, you know, comfort zone and just blown it away and stuff. So yeah, I want him to win. I think Will Smith will win it, and if he does, I feel that that's not a travesty because it is his time as well, really. So I'd be upset if Benedict won there, and I think it will be really just pampering to Denzel if he wins it because it's not his best. So
no, my thoughts are very much in line with you guys. Denzel for me doesn't deserve to be up in the best five. If I was probably to take one which I definitely wanted to see up there, was probably actually Nicolas Cage in Pig. I think that was a performance that deserved more than Denzel for sure. Javier Bardem, and the same with sort of like Best Actress in terms of Nicole Kidman. Being the Ricardos, they were two very, very good performances. Even though the movie itself was okay, because when I first looked at this, I was like, how can two people for Best Actor and Best Actress in leading roles both be nominated in the film? Not when you see it, you kind of get it. I'll touch on that a little bit more later. But yeah, Javier Bardem was very good in this. And I think that it's kind of very understated. And I think it is always difficult when you are trying to play a real life person in a movie. And that's why often these performances get nominated because of how closely you portray or how you take on that character. But I think, my favorite performance is Andrew Garfield. That's who I want to win it. I would love to see him to win that, just on the fact that he's done some great stuff this year on top of that, you know. So he was in Spider-Man, which is like the biggest movie of last year coming into this year, and then he also did the Eyes of Tammy Lee, and he was great in that as well. So I think I would love for him to win that. Who I think is going to win, I think Benedict's going to take this. I think what Netflix have done in terms of promoting this movie and getting to the nominations it is. And I know that he's picked up an award pre-season. I think Will Smith has done it as well in the seasons, but I think Benedict is going to walk away with it. But I much prefer Will to walk away with it if Andrew doesn't. So my first pick would be Andrew, then it'd be Will. But I just have a sneaky suspicion Benedict's going to win it. And I'd be annoyed if that happened. I would be annoyed.
Same.
Okay, so let's move on to actress in the leading role. So we have Jessica Chastain for The Eyes of Tammy Faye, Olivia Coleman, The Lost Daughter, Penelope Cruz for Parallel Mothers, Nicole Kidman for Being the Ricardos, and Kirsten Stewart for Spencer. So does anybody want to go first on this? No, okay.
Where the
Well, I'm happy
fuck?
to.
Where the
Go
fuck
on.
was Lady Gaga? Where the fuck was Lady Gaga, man?
Yeah.
I mean, Lady Gaga's idea of an Italian accent I mean, she's not at her best. She was much better in things like what's it? Oh God, my mind's gone blank. The one that she did get nominated and did well in.
I didn't think her accent was that bad, personally, myself.
Yeah.
But that's just me. Funnily enough, I've got a friend called
it's
Matteo.
no Jared Leto.
Well, you know what? You know Matteo that we play COD with?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mentioned it. I was like, what do you think of Jared Leto in House of Gucci? You know what he said? He goes, he sounds like my uncle. I was like, really? He goes, everyone has that guy out here. And he was like, sure, for a lot of people, they're just going to think Super Mario, but that's like there are loads of people that sound exactly like that. I was just like, okay. I said, did you find it offensive or like whatnot? He goes, why?
Mm-hmm.
That was his question on that. He's like, why? So
Fair
it made me think, okay. But the thing is though, when I watched it, I took it as it was, and the cinema I was watching, because I was watching it in the States, the cinema I was watching it in, every time he came on screen, everyone was laughing their arse off. Maybe it was out of like, what the fuck is he doing kind of thing. But I kind of went with it. And it wasn't only until Ken was like, dude, what the fuck was he doing with that performance? Where I just started to think, oh shit, was he really that bad? It kind of made me question it kind of thing. And then I just kind of let it, where I just consulted an Italian friend of mine. I was like, did you find this insulting? And he was just like, no, why should I? It's like, I thought it was very good.
Did he
It was the same with Lady Gaga.
I've not actually seen this.
Yeah, and it was the same with Lady Gaga, and he was like, and personally, I thought she owned that film hands down, and I thought she was very good in it personally. So that's why I'm like kind of shocked that she wasn't even given a nomination, because as an actress, she's done two very powerhouse kind of boss roles, man, and they're both very, very different. And I'm kind of really shocked she's not on there. Looking at the list that we got, I'm like, why the fuck are half of these people on there? Kirsten Stewart as Spencer. Now, maybe because we're British, we kind of know what Prince, and we're of the right age range to know what Diana was like. And when you got performances coming from The Crown that are a billion times better than what fucking Kirsten Stewart's kind of performed, like, even in the trailer, she's fucking bad. It was like, I gotta watch like 3 hours of that shite, and then I did, and then I really wished I'd never, because I didn't like Jackie either by the same director. I kind of knew what I was getting myself into, so it was kind of a bit of a psych up to watch that movie, and it was poor, and she was poor. Why is she on there? It bewilders me. Nicole Kidman was pretty good, but it was standard Nicole Kidman affair. Olivia Coleman, same can be said for her, but that movie was dry as fuck, okay? That's 2 hours I'm never going to get back. And that's not as bad as Spencer, but like, shit, man. Jessica Chastain, she was okay. You know what? Like, if we had actual boss level fucking performances here, I would say, I wouldn't even look at Jessica Chastain. But if that's list now, Jessica Chastain's like pretty strong in the running here. But you know what? Penelope Cruz slays it in Parallel Mothers. She really does. And for me, that's who I would pick out of that list. And hell, even if we had, like Lady Gaga in there, I probably wouldn't even look at Penelope Cruz. But I'd say that she was a very strong contender. But right now, I'm looking at Penelope Cruz and I want her to win. Other people that should be nominated, other than Lady Gaga, hang on, just give me a sec. Save that for a bit. You guys speak, because I got to do my due diligence, and that might take a few minutes. So yeah, you guys speak. Yeah, there's no dead air.
So yeah, I think for me, there's definitely a few. There's some snubs in here. I think that for me, I thought Lady Gaga's performance in House of Gucci was excellent, and I definitely expected her. So when I came out of that, I was like, it's an okay movie, but I fully expect her to be nominated. Another snub for me is probably the performance of Amelia Jones in Coda. She carries that film, in many ways, and it's like, well, actually, why wasn't she nominated for that? Is it her age or something like that? I have no idea. But she is a lead in that movie, and she's fantastic. Another one is probably Jennifer Hudson for her performance as Aretha Franklin in Queen of the Soul. That biopic, she could have been nominated for that. So yeah, I think there's definitely a lot of performances that should have been in there, which aren't. In terms of what we do have, in terms of the list, Spencer was a huge disappointment for me. I saw the trailers and, and everyone's saying, oh, it's a standing performance and, oh, this is going to be an Oscar contender. And, because myself and my partner, we enjoy The Crown, and she really likes the royal family and all the stuff that can be associated with that. I said, look, let's go to the cinema and watch this, because we hardly ever go to the cinema together. She's much more of a series person than a film person. And after the film, she was like, this is why I don't come to the cinema with you. It's just like, I don't let you pick the movies. I was like, I picked this for you. I thought this is something that you'd enjoy. And the trailer sold something that was very different. This is based around 3 days over 2 days over one weekend at Balmoral Castle, whatever it is. And it feels like Kirsten Stewart trying to do an over and top impression as opposed to acting the part. And for me, it didn't carry the character of Diana very well at all. It made her very crazy, seems very unstable, seemed very actually unloving and uncaring towards her kids, which everything that we're told from every other aspect isn't. I think they tried to show that in this, but for me, I was like, no, she's acting kind of a bitch towards them, very dismissive of them. So I know this is supposed to be the psychological part of it, but it just very much seemed like a Kirsten Stewart fashion show. She just kept running down corridors in different dresses and shit. So it was just very, very weird. Nicole Kidman, I thought she was really good. Again, there's two performances here where people are based on real people. So Nicole Kidman being the Ricardos, when you match up her performances against what they showed in terms of the real life images and stuff like that, you do see it, a lot of it. And, she's done it very well. But, is it easier to copy somebody, or is it easier to bring your own performance to something original? So Jessica Chastain, out of the two, I preferred Jessica Chastain's performance against Nicole Kidman's. I thought she did very, very well in The Eyes of Tammy Faye. I actually just watched that this morning because it was one performance I hadn't seen. And, she goes all the way through from being very young to right at the end, and I thought it was really strong. It's a very over-the-top character, so I can see why some people might be turned off against that. But it was fitting as per the film and what was required. So, and I think, from what we've seen of her previously, she really busted out some really strong acting chops here and stuff like that. So it was good. Olivia Coleman, we know what a phenomenal talent she is. And I think her reputation has got her this nomination as opposed to the actual performance. Like you guys are saying, when you sort of like think of certain actors and actresses, they kind of nominate based on their legacy rather than necessarily their individual performance. She's good in this, but we've seen a lot better, and there are other better performances. The only one I haven't actually seen is Penelope Cruz, Parallel Mothers, so I can't comment on that. But I do know that Parallel Mothers has made a lot of personal critics' top 10 lists. So, it must be a strong movie. So that is one that I'm going to watch. So based on what we currently have, I think the person who will win it, I wouldn't be surprised if Nicole Kidman went away with this, because I think she is a bit of an Oscar darling. Olivia Coleman could, but I think she has won it recently. So I wouldn't be surprised if Nicole Kidman went. The person I'd hate to see win it is Kirsten Stewart, and that would really grate me if she did. But the person who I probably want to win it based off the performances I've seen would probably be Jessica Chastain, and I think she's definitely in the running for it. She could definitely walk away with it, but I'm just wondering, because of her name and what she's done previously, whether it's too much of a stretch for her at this point. So,
I think
that's what I'm going for. Sacha, I got you down as Penelope Cruz for. Yeah, Sacha, I got you Penelope Cruz as wanting. Who do you think will actually win it?
I think you hit the nail on the head there with Nicole Kidman. To be honest, it was an okay performance, kind of expected of her, if that makes sense. But I think the safe bet is probably the choice. I mean, like, when I'm looking at people that could have been on there, I've just looked at the BAFTA nominations that have just gone, and like Renata Reviz, I can't pronounce her name. She did The Worst Person in the World. Great movie, great performance, and also her first performance as well. She carries that film, and Amelia Jones for Coda. Lady Gaga was on there. Tessa Thompson. There's like, why wasn't this list submitted? Kind of thing. I don't know, man.
Yeah.
I just think it's a very. Yeah, I think I said all I needed to say about.
It's probably one of the most bizarre
Yeah.
categories.
Definitely.
Yeah, it's probably one of the most bizarre categories in terms of nominations.
Because I'm looking at it, I'm like, no one should be on here.
Yeah, agreed. Right, Greg, so what of these have you seen in terms of performances?
I've seen a few of them. Some of them I've seen only by watching extended clips to try to sort of prepare myself. But I've seen half of the Eyes of Tammy Faye, but I have seen Jessica Chastain obviously in that half, and she was good, and I think she could win. I think it might be a little bit more to caricature for the Academy. I think it is quite a bold performance, and I think, as you said, it's not a massive stretch for her. I think she was better understated in things like Zero Dark 30 and Molly's Game, which I think was underrated and is not excellent. But Olivia Coleman, as I said before, I think she wasn't as good as Jessie Buckley. As a performance, just as you said, she's there now because she's Olivia Coleman and she's the new British Meryl Streep as such, and is an absolute sort of a national treasure. So I think she was good in this. I just, as you both said, it's an awful film. It's just nothing happens, and she just mopes around on the beach for 99% of it and doesn't do an awful lot. It was a bit too arty for me. I'm going to say that of clips I've seen, and I haven't seen the full film, of clips I've seen, I hope Penelope Cruz gets it. I think her performance does seem to be the best. I haven't seen Being the Ricardos other than the clips of it, but I'm going to throw a curveball. I think there's a chance, and I really hope not, and I think we should have a third category. There's the want, the who we think will, and the who we absolutely do not want to win. But I think
the what the fuck category.
The what the fuck. So with previous people, like anyone who's called Kirsten or Kristen so far, seems to be on that category for us, I think. But Kristen, I'm slightly worried because, as you said, there are better performances in The Crown, but people love The Crown and people love Lady Di and people love these characters. And I've got to think,
that wouldn't surprise me.
Well, I mean, it's going to be compared to the last Diane movie that was just awful, the biopic, and I think they'll say, well, it's better than that, and it's going to go with the hype. And bearing in mind that, Gillian did a better version of Maggie Thatcher in one of the recent series of The Crown, but Meryl Streep won for that role for Iron Lady, and it wasn't a great film. It wasn't particularly great, but people love biopics, as you said.
Americans do love the British royal family movies. It's true.
So Americans love the British royal family. People love biopics because then it's kind of like, we can see how much you do a sort of a character, and the more weird the character is, so the little quirks of Lady Di, the shyness and the funny voice is no different from Maggie Thatcher being strange with her voice, or Lincoln being very high and strange and squeaky and stuff like that. So I think slightly strange character, bit of quirkiness. If Gary Oldman and Darkistan, all these things are showing us anything, is they love a biopic, they love the Britishness, they love the royal family. I reckon she's at least a curveball, or sort of a wild ball of someone who could win it. It would be a travesty, but she could do. So, yes, I'm going to say that one just because you guys have both doubled down on Nicole Kidman. I'm going to say...
it's a really good shout.
I think she could do it. It would be a travesty, but I'm hoping Penelope Cruz by far.
Okay. Right, so let's move on to some of these. These should be a little bit quicker now. So, cinematography. So cinematography is up, and we have Dune, Nightmare Alley, The Power of the Dog, The Tragedy of Macbeth, and West Side Story. So I'll jump in here quite quickly. So all really strong in terms of cinematography. Can't, really argue with any of them being there. Tragedy of Macbeth is like black and white, but the way that it's shot is gorgeous. Dune is a beautiful film, even though it wasn't great for me. It's fairly average movie for me. In terms of its visuals and the direction, it's fantastic. Nightmare Alley, gorgeous film. I love the aesthetics and everything that went in with that. I think that might be slightly more for me production design than cinematography, but I think that may be for that. Power of the Dog, good, but for me, in terms of cinematography, who I'd want to win it's probably going to be West Side Story. I just thought it was just fantastic. Just the way the lighting, the shots, the use of light in that movie was just phenomenal. So in terms of want, it's West Side Story for me. Who do I think it's going to win? I think it might go to Dune. And I wouldn't have a problem with that. So I think Dune, there's a lot of love for that film, and it hasn't been nominated in certain categories. So I think it will clear up in some of the other ones. And I think this is probably one. So I think it is between Dune and West Side Story for me. So I want West Side Story, but I think it's going to be Dune.
Can I jump in just because I really just need to say the word ditto? I'm exactly the same. Cool. I think that West Side Story, the opening shot where they kind of come down like a wrecking ball and then zoom in and across the cinema is just beautiful. But more so than that, as you said, you've touched on the use of light, but the way that they've shot it so it looks modern but still looks like it is not just based in the 50s but shot in the 50s while still being clear and HD. And it was quite an achievement. It looks like a 50s film, but not like a 50s film, because otherwise it would be grainy and stuff. And it's just beautiful. I think should cinematography go to things like Doom, which are stunning and are amazing, but are so much done in a computer? I mean, we've got to ask ourselves. I mean, I think he was quite practical, and he did try to do a lot on location where he could. So, but I agree with you. I think it should go to West Side Story. I think it will go to West Side Story, but I think Dune could be a contender. If anyone's going to steal it from that, it will be that. I don't think West Side Story is going to clean up outside of Best Supporting Actress and Cinematography, but I hope it does get cinematography. So.
Okay, cool. Sacha?
Yeah. So I personally think that Greg Fraser did a phenomenal job in Dune, cementing that with the Batman recently. Dan, I can't pronounce his surname, but Nightmare Alley, when I saw the movie, I turned around to Ken while watching it. I was like, wow, that really is a really strong contender for that category. And I really wanted to say Dune. Because Dune really stands out above all kind of thing when first looking at this category, because it being Philippe Delarnove and Greg Fraser, it's kind of no-brainer. But the thing is, the real wild card on that list is always Janusz Kaminski, because Janusz Kaminski, if you don't know anything about cinematography, he's one of the GOATs, okay? That guy's done every single Steven Spielberg film since Schindler's List. And if you look at Spielberg's films, there's one thing you cannot say: cinematography's on point. Even in a film as bad as Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, the silhouette use in that film, the way the camera moves in that film, phenomenal. But, that's not why that movie was bad. West Side Story, I only saw a few days ago. Every shot, every frame, every use of lighting, every camera move is done with precision and skill. Okay, the framing is on point in that movie. It would be a disservice for that film not to get the Oscar. Okay, it's unfair to the other contenders because the guy's the GOAT. Okay, and it's kind of like, okay, Nightmare Alley, West Side Story. What the hell is he going to do now? I want to say no to him. Because he's probably got about 12 of these things with Spielberg. in the course of his career. But then when you watch at West Side Story,
Yeah.
it's really hard not to, because every move, the way that camera moves, the way the shots are framed, come on, man, it's Spielberg doing what Spielberg does best, and he's got the best in the business for it. And, you know, I wanted to say Dune, all right, but I hadn't seen West Side Story, and it's hard not to. I'd say Macbeth. That was also, if West Side Story wasn't in it, Macbeth was a strong contender, because the use of imagery in that was really good. And I think, to be honest, the nominations, except for bar one, were all worthy of the nomination. I don't think Power of the Dog should be even on that list at all. I think that's a sympathy vote there, because I think that's what I think Netflix. Yeah, I just think there are other movies that have done what that has done a billion times better. And if there's any movie on the list that compare the the use of cinematography that does, is Dune. And Dune, you know, unbeknownst to Greg, I guess, is that a lot of that was done practical in the desert and stuff. A lot of the visual effects were using miniatures, so rather than CGI, because it was a very practical effects kind of film rather than CGI driven. So I do think Dune was a very, very strong contender kind of thing. But because Kaminsky's on the list, I didn't want to say this. I know on other podcasts I hadn't seen West Side Story, and I was like, Dune.
That's right.
Got to be West Side Story, man. It has to. So I never thought
I told you, as soon as you see that movie, yeah.
It's
so
like,
who do you think will actually win it? Do you think West Side Story will take it?
I think it'd be an injustice if it didn't. But the more I'm seeing Power of the Dog nominations, I swear to God, if Power of the Dog gets it, I'll be mad. I'd be fine if Dune got it, and probably Nightmare Alley, because I thought Nightmare Alley was fantastically shot. But again, it's got to be West Side Story. It has to be West Side Story.
Okay,
I'd be okay with Dune got it, but again, I'd still be like, that's a bit of a cop out. You know what I mean? Like, I get it, but yeah.
Okay. All right. So let's move on to production design then. So our nominations for production design, we have, it's the same. It's all the same films. It's Dune, Nightmare Alley, Power of the Dog, The Tragedy of Macbeth, and West Side Story. Keep this production design. I think that for me, it goes to probably 2. Because I think the production design on Dune was fantastic. But I also really rate Nightmare Alley on this one. So, you know, I mean, West Side Story could be there as well. I mean, yeah, again, all of them should be there except the Power of the Dog. You know, the Power of the Dog, yeah, okay, it was like around a ranch and stuff like that, this, you know, deserts and stuff, but Dune did it better. So I think for this one, I probably actually... I think I'd want Nightmare Alley to win this. But I think Dune is going to take cinematography and production designs, even though I don't think it should be winning it. So I'm going with Nightmare Alley, but I think it might be another Dune. I think they'll be linked, cinematography and production design. Greg, what about yourself?
Yeah, I think that Dune is probably the most deserved, or I haven't seen an awful lot of Nightmare Alley, so I can't really, so based on the ones I've seen, I think I prefer West Side Story, in the sense of I think it was just a better film, and I was really looking forward to Dune, and I enjoyed it, but I think production design-wise, I think it is the whole concept and building it. It needs to be something out of the ordinary. As you said, why Power of the Dog is on here, other than the fact that it's just nominated for everything. It's how much design do you need to make a ranch in a desert, as you say. So just when you incorporate everything from, you know, the costumes to the sets to the general feel, I think that Dune will probably get it. And I think it'll be deservedly so. I think West Side Story is great, but it is the 1950s set, and they've made it look very period and stuff. But I think if you're going out there and creating something that is a whole mythos and a whole sort of sci-fi staple, then yeah, I think it deserves it. So
cool, Sacha.
Yeah, I think I'm with Greg on this one. It has to be Dune because they've had to create everything from scratch. A lot of physical effects went into this film rather than digital, and I think it should be commended on that alone. Especially when we live in a day where CG would solve all the problems and stuff. Denis Villeneuve, he's very pro physical rather than digital. So, and the use of miniatures were amazing on this. Creating that world. Yeah. I do think Nightmare Alley is another good shout from that list because the production design is evident everywhere. But then I'd expect nothing less from a Del Toro picture. So, Power of the Dog, what are you doing on there? Get off. And yeah, I think West Side Story and Tragedy and Macbeth are also good shouts as well. But I think the two strongest contenders are Nightmare Alley and Dune. I would want Dune to win. I think it might. I think it might. And if it ends up being Power of the Dog, I'll be very annoyed. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, true.
Oh,
okay,
I do think.
Oh, go on.
I do think The Last Duel should have had a nomination there. I think there's a bit of a snub there with The Last Duel, and even The Green Knight. Last Duel and Green Knight. I think they should have at least got a nomination as well. And on the subject of The Last Duel, I forgot to mention. I thought, what's her name? Jodie Corner was pretty good in that. I think she should have been nominated for sure. And
that's good.
You already said Pig, but another one for Best Actress, Zendaya and Malcolm and Marie. She does a phenomenal job in that. Probably the best I've ever seen her. But I hear her TV show, she's slaying it. So, yeah.
Okay. Right. So let's move on to visual effects. So, I mean, this category could have been a lot bigger than 5, but here we go. I don't agree with some of these nominations, but here we go. So, visual effects, we got Dune, Free Guy, No Time to Die, Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, and Spider-Man No Way Home. So, first of all, I'm just going to talk about some of the snubs I think could, should have, would have been on there. I think there's definitely an argument for Zack Snyder's Justice League to be on there. Whether it's because it was released previously and it's like a new cut, but the amount of work that he did on it to release that movie, there's definitely an argument that could have been on there. Sticking with DC, Suicide Squad, that probably should have been on there. More so than I think Shang-Chi. I think Suicide Squad should have been on there. Finch, the movie with Tom Hanks, Apple movie. So basically it's post-apocalyptic world and he's built like a robot. It's very much sort of like Johnny Five is alive kind of thing. But, Finch, the amount of special effects that kind of went into that, definitely an argument for it. Again, I think probably Eternals probably deserve a place more than Shang-Chi in terms of special effects. And maybe No Time to Die as well. So that's just some of my 2 cents. In terms of what we have got, look, Dune looks phenomenal. But like we said, there's a lot of practical effects in there. And Free Guy, a lot of it is special effects. That most of that movie is because it's based inside a game. But, if I had not watched a video yesterday on the special effects of Spider-Man No Way Home, I probably would have given it to Dune. Having watched the breakdown of the special effects of Spider-Man No Way Home, there is absolutely no way this movie should not win the Oscar for Best Visual Effects. There's only about 8 shots in that movie which doesn't have visual effects in it. There is so much that I thought was practical and is not. Very, very small sets, which is enlarged by visual effects. Backgrounds, trees, skies, leaves blowing in the wind. There is so much. Even just Tom Holland's suit, the Iron Spider suit, Doc Ock's arms. There is so much in this movie. Green Goblin, the whole him in the suit when he arrives, that's all visual effects. There is so much in this movie. So if you haven't seen it, go watch the clip. I think Variety did it and did a whole breakdown. I could watch a whole version of that where he breaks down the whole movie. I could watch like a 3-hour version of that. It's phenomenal stuff. So yeah, for me, Spider-Man won an actual. I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if it went to Dune. But I'm going to stick with my hope that it's going to be Spider-Man, and I'm going to say Spider-Man should win it, even though I have a sneaking suspicion Dune might take it. Who wants to go next?
I can put my tuppence worth in because it's very similar.
Yeah,
I think that historically the Academy has preferred visual effects that weren't overtly sort of obscenely just there and all over the place, because nowadays with CGI everything can do that. So I think anything that is, I disagree with the Snyder films as much as I disagree that most of the Marvel ones would be on there, because they're just too, it is a lot of visual effects. They got the best people doing it, but I think back in the day where you were winning it for removing sort of Lieutenant Dan's legs and incorporating Forrest Gump into sort of old footage is more worthy. And for that reason, I agree with you with the Spider-Man that I think that the extension of things and adding suits and stuff that isn't clearly CGI is probably better, because we all know what CGI looks like. And it's like, yeah, you do it well, and everyone does it well nowadays, which is more of a case of you point out the films that just do bad CGI because it's less common now. But yeah, so for that said, as much as I enjoyed the film and I thought it was a good laugh, and the fact that it is stuff, Free Guy is just too overtly CGI. It's a whole CGI world and everywhere. And it's brilliant. It's well implicated, but it's not the sort of film that would win an Academy Award ever, I don't think. I think it would be an insult, I think, to most of the very serious, people who are on the Academy sort of bench. But I also don't think No Time to Die deserves a place on this list either. But yeah, Spider-Man, I kind of, for the same reason that you do, I'd like it to do better because of stuff. But as you said, I think I was thinking of the, I forgot the name of it, the Johnny Five's live one, Finch, whatever.
Finch.
I thought that would have been better because it was one person acting with one thing for a lot of it, and I think that's takes a lot more. It's different if you're wandering around seeing Mark Ruffalo on stilts with like a tennis ball above his head and going, that's where Hulk's face is going to be. But if you have to do a lot of acting with that, then you're kind of getting more into sort of Andy Serkis, motion capture territory and stuff. So, but yeah, I still think June will win it anyway. So because June is just obviously amazingly visual effects, but as you said, it is less visual effects, and I think there's a lot more subtlety in Spider-Man: No Way Home, apart from the obvious, stuff all over. There's going to be a lot more to it. But yeah. So I mostly agree, but I don't think most of those should be on here, to be honest. So
agreed. Sacha.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you. June was probably in the front running for me for the longest time. It still is. If it won, I would have no problem with that, because a lot of effort went into that to make everything look seamless. They did use, the other reason why I'd say June is because they used a lot more practical effects than they did digital. And when they did use digital, it was such a good hybrid blend of the two put together that you really couldn't tell it apart, basically, because everything does look very physical in that movie. However, like that breakdown of Spider-Man, what you got to understand though, Spider-Man was filmed during the pandemic, which means they couldn't get everybody in the same room at the same time, etc., for certain scenes and stuff. The stuff they did with the kid that plays Flash Thompson, I would never have known that was a visual effect. You know what I mean? Ever. The stuff they did, the stuff they did when. He couldn't.
So basically, in the scene where he's taking the phone call from Peter,
that's blue screen.
Basically, they shot the background one day. Yeah, they shot that one day with another one, and then they just shot him on a blue screen and laid it over the top. It's seamless. You wouldn't have think he's not in that room with all those other students. So because there's a scheduling conflict, and some of it might have been scheduling, some of it might have been isolation, and like I say, because of COVID and stuff like that. But it just seems like that. You're just like, I have no idea he wasn't in that room. Yeah,
the movie has more visual effects than than all three Star Wars prequel put together. That's the claim. It only has two actual shots where it's actual not touched by CGI at all. And it was all down because, scheduling, getting people there, that kind of stuff. And once you watch this breakdown, you're just kind of like, what? You know what I mean? Like, what in the actual fuck, man.
Mhm.
Like, how much CGI? This is insane.
Yeah.
And it's just the sheer
Yeah.
work that they did. And when you look at the film, there's a lot of stuff where you wouldn't even think that it was CG or added or whatnot. Is it a bit of a cop out? Because I could say a lot of other Marvel movies do that same thing as well. But I just think the very fact that breakdown just blew me away in terms of, like, I didn't expect that. That's when you know they've done the job right. Whereas, you know, although June does it just as well, you kind of know that that's a visual effects thing because of the genre it's in. You know it's how they're going to create that CGI. That's your first go-to. But the more impressive thing is when you see it. Actually, it was physical effects rather than digital. That's why I think June's still in the running. But I must say, Spider-Man took leaps and bounds after seeing that breakdown, where I was just like, you know what, that's gone from not being in the running to actually, I think they should win this. So, yeah.
I think June will win it for the same reason that sort of Fury Road did well. It's about taking the physical and then blending it with elements and tweaking it. And it seems that the Academy prefers that over overt effects, as I said. And so I think that'll do well. But yeah, hopefully.
But when you watch the actual Spider-Man one, you'll see, like I say, it is a blend, but it is more of an extension. So, for instance, when Peter Parker goes to Doctor Strange's sanctum, they got the front door and the steps. That's the only physical bit. Everything else of that sanctum is extended. That's all digital. The background, the trees, the sky, the cars, the leaves. I was just like, I had no idea. You know, the stuff where he's fighting Doc Ock on the bridge. You know, they built a little bit of a concrete street, and that was it. You know, because it's cheaper than shutting down up a freeway in New York. You know, and it makes sense. But the scope of like that. It's watch the breakdown. It's phenomenal. Okay, so we've got. Three categories left. So we're going to go for best animated feature film. So we have Encanto, Flea, Luca, The Mitchells versus the Machines, and Raya and the Last Dragon. The only one of these I haven't seen is Flea. So that's the only one. So I can't really comment on that. Look, Encanto is delightful. The music is catchy as fuck. You can't really say much more about that. But for me, between Encanto, Luca, and Raya and the Last Dragon, the Disney Pixar movies, Luca had the most heart and magic for me in terms of a movie. I just thought that was outstanding. The Mitchells and the Machines did surprise me. I only literally watched it yesterday. I know it's been around for a while. It's been on Netflix, and so many people had said they really enjoyed it. It's a lot more out there. You know, it's a good delivery by Sony again. You know, who did Into the Spider-Verse. You know, they're really coming strong with their animation, and I have to say, you know, the visualization, the stylization of this was really solid. But nothing makes me feel anything like a Pixar movie does. And Luca, for me, is the one I'd want to win it. Who do I think's going to win it? It's probably going to be between the Mitchells and the Machines and Encanto. I wouldn't bet against Disney, so I think who I think will actually win it is probably Encanto. Yeah, I think that's what I'm going to go with. All right, who's next?
I'll go if
Sacha.
But yeah.
Okay, go, Greg. Yeah, go on, Greg.
Okay, yeah. There was just silence. Dead air's never good in a podcast.
Dead air, no. Somebody speak, please.
Yeah, I agree with you. I enjoyed Mitchell and the Machines. It got a lot of buzz at the time that it came out, and it was quite fun and this and that. I mean, is it the sort of thing that I'd go back and watch again and would stick in my head as, you know? And as you say, the Pixar stuff is just normally a step beyond it. It is the benchmark and what have you. But that said, Encanto obviously is exceedingly catchy and good, and visually it's stunning. And it has one of the most earworm songs in the history that has beaten everyone in the charts and stuff. So
true that.
So, yeah, exactly. So I think Encanto may get it, but the Mitchells versus the Machines may be surprising in the sense that they might sort of just give it to them just because it was sort of a bit of a buzz out of nowhere, really, and everyone's saying, "Oh, you should really watch this. It's so much better than it should be." Again, I think Luke is full of heart, and I agree with you that it could be best. But that said, I still think I'd prefer Encanto over it. So I think Encanto will win it, and Encanto probably should. but
Okay,
I think Mitchell's and the Machines may be a dark horse.
Yeah, for sure. And ironically, probably a better performance from Olivia Coleman than The Last Daughter. So
Yes. He wasn't just moping on a beach for no reason.
yeah, exactly. She was a fun little personal mobile phone trying to take over the world. Right, Sasha, who do you have for best animated?
Me personally, I'd give it to Flea. That was a really,
okay.
really good film. Sure, the animation's not up to scratch. Basically, it's based on this refugee who traveled from his conflict to Denmark, I believe, or somewhere in the Netherlands, maybe Switzerland or Denmark. Not too sure, can't remember. But literally, while living in Denmark, one of his childhood friends became a shrink. So he trusts his friend to like tell his story to get over his trauma and stuff, because he had trauma from just moving from his country in the Middle East all the way there. And it's literally a story about how he got to the Netherlands. Basically, it's literally a story about that. How to go through Russia, how to travel on the boats and containers and stuff. He was a young boy, so it was really scary and stuff. And obviously, like, his sisters had already done the trip and they made it safe, but every time he went, there was stuff where he was stuck in another country. It was crazy, man. It was a really big insight into into the whole immigration kind of.
Yeah, I was just going to say, so he fled from Afghanistan to Denmark.
Yeah. To Denmark,
so
yeah.
He was fleeing Afghanistan to Denmark.
And it was a really good story. Really good story in terms of the culture as well and stuff. And to be honest, I was like, while watching it, I was like, this would make I want someone to look at this movie and adapt it into an actual movie kind of thing, like an actual live action. I think the material is there. The reason why it was done animated is because, his friend was like, this would make a good movie. And he was like, I don't want to be in a movie and stuff. If you are going to do it, change my name. And they were like, okay, how about an animated one? And that's kind of why they did that, because the guy, didn't want his name associated to it. But it's based on a true story. It was really, really good. Not really one that I would normally pick for animation, but then you always get a movie like this that comes up every now and again. But I just thought it was so different to everything that was on the slate there, that it really, really kind of like made me go, wow, like, people are looking for original films. This is an original film. And it has its own voice as well. The guy was also a gay Muslim as well, which plays into it as well, which, fair enough, you could call woke or whatever, but, the other end of the spectrum is you want original film. You can't get more original than this. And the fact that it was based on a true story as well, I was completely blown away by it. Again, out of the other films that are nominated, I'd say Luca is definitely the one that I would pick out of everything else. Although I had a lot of fun with Mitchell and Machines. That was a really, really good joy to watch. I think the weakest film on that list is Encanto, for me anyway. I just thought the ending was just kind of like cookie cutter, and was like, okay, cool, I get it, like, good, like, whatever, innit, like, cool. But I just didn't care for it, I was just like, yeah, okay, another Disney movie off the week, cool. But that's just me. That's animated. Hopefully gets it, but I think Luca's probably more deserving and probably the one that should get it. But we'll see.
Okay. So do you want Flea to win it, but you think Luca might?
Yeah. I'd like Flea to get it, but I think Luca might.
Cool.
Because it's Disney Pixar.
Cool. All right. Right. Yeah, absolutely. No, it'd be great to see something independent like that win. Based on what you said, I'm going to check it out, because I actually had no idea what it was about, to be honest. So I hadn't even seen or heard of it. So that sounds really fascinating. Okay, so we're up to our last two categories, which is Best Director and Best Picture. So we'll start with Best Director. So we have Best Directors. We have Belfast, Kenneth Branagh; Drive My Car, Yusuke Amaguchi. Sorry if I pronounced that incorrectly. Licorice Pizza, Paul Thomas Anderson; The Power of the Dog, Jane Campion, and West Side Story, Steven Spielberg. So before we decide who our picks for those, is there any directors you feel should be on that list who are not? Sacha, I will start with you.
Ridley Scott for both of his movies, Lost Duel and Hasaguchi. That's about it off the top of my head. Oh, George Clooney for The Tender Bar.
Yeah. What about Villeneuve for Dune?
Oh shit, I forgot you know what? I don't know why I forgot all about that. Yeah, I think that's the biggest snub, personally. I think Villeneuve should have got it for Dune. Well, should be nominated at least for Dune, but yeah, he's not there. I kind of gave up when I didn't see his name. Just kind of like, yeah, okay. Yeah, it's like, all right, I get it. Cool. They're saving it for next year or whenever the fuck the second one comes out, but we'll see. But yeah.
Yeah, The Tender Bar was great, and I guess a good shout about George Clooney, but not enough love for that movie. You know, you could argue Ben Affleck should have got a Best Supporting nod for that. So,
yeah.
But Greg, yeah, right? It was a good performance. So,
yeah, it was.
Bad
haircut, though.
Greg, who do you is there any... Yeah. Greg, is there any snubs or people you think should have been on this list?
Off the top of my head, just the one you mentioned, Villeneuve, I think that it's either going to go one of two ways. It's either going to be a case of, come the second one, they'll do a Return of the King and give it even more love, you know, from the acting and directing side of things. But mostly, I think they look at it as a sci-fi film, even though it's trying to be this sprawling epic and things. I think it's not serious enough for the Academy to be to really be represented in the top four very often. So I think it's going to be getting the effects ones, which is what, you know, films that are good but not of serious enough caliber often get. It's like, now you're only getting the technicals. And I think Villeneuve would have probably liked to have been on this list, but isn't. So, but yeah, they're the ones that off the top of my head. I haven't seen the George Clooney film, so.
Okay. A random one I think that should have been on there is Philip Baranti for Boiling Point. That's his first.
That's exactly what I was about to say.
Yeah, that's his first feature, and man, that guy really hits it out the park with that. That was such a good film. Yeah.
Yeah, it's based on a short he did. So he did a short version of this with Stephen Graham, and then because of the buzz and everything he got, he ended up doing a feature version of it. Again with Stephen Graham and stuff like that. And yeah, he was up for some BAFTAs as in terms of best new talent and stuff like that. But yeah, for me, he could definitely be up there.
It's surprisingly then based on, I think I saw something about this, but don't know much about it. But it's amazing to me if that was the case, that Stephen Graham isn't in any of the awards, because he seems to be quite well loved and he's normally very, very dependable.
He is one of my favourite actors. Absolutely.
Just to be fair,
which we didn't actually talk.
He should have got like best actor. He should have been in the best actor category at least for that film.
Yeah. I just don't think the movie got the exposure in the States.
Yeah, that's right.
It just didn't get the exposure in the States, that movie. It's very much a British movie, and that's why it was nominated over here for Best Actor. But yeah, it just didn't get the exposure in America, which is why I didn't see
question. I don't know if this is something I'm missing because of cut-off dates and this and that. Why is the Batman not represented in more categories and things? Is it
just the release date? So it'll be up for next year.
Because I thought it might be the case because it's not represented in anything. But yeah, I hope Matt Reeves does get a potential directing nod for that, because I think it's more than a standard comic book movie. It's more film noir and such. And yeah,
it'll be up for a lot. Cinematography, production design. I'm sure that movie will be up for a lot. Sound, all that kind of stuff. One actually I forgot to mention in terms of special effects or visual effects was Ghostbusters Afterlife.
Yes.
Really well
definitely
done.
A shout that should have been in there. Yeah. Okay. Okay, so best director, who we've got. So Belfast, I really did enjoy this movie. It's very much a personal story to Kenneth Branagh. It's sort of like semi-autobiographical. Licorice Pizza, well directed, but just the movie didn't speak that much to me. I know it's one of Sacha's favourites of last year. Just didn't get along with it. I said to him, I haven't seen that much running in a movie since the last Tom Cruise movie. It was just endless shots of people running in that film. It was really bizarre. West Side Story, from a directing standpoint, really strong contender. Even though it doesn't necessarily have all the acting performances and everything else in it, I wouldn't be surprised if he took that home. Who I'd want to win it would probably be Kenneth Branagh for Belfast, from a directing point of view. I think that's the person out of those options who I would take it. Who is going to win it? It's going to be Jane Campion for Power of the Dog. I can't see anybody else winning that category, unfortunately. Even though personally I don't think that is the right choice, I think that's the way the Oscar's going to go. So that's my picks. Greg, what are your picks?
So I agree that Power of the Dog is almost Jane Campion is going to get it. She's waited a long time. Obviously, the piano she got some recognition for. So it's been a while, and there's so much love for this film. It's slightly unjustifiably so, but not terribly so. But just I still don't think it's quite lived up to its hype, because the hype is huge. I agree. I'd like Steven Spielberg to do better and do well. I think he's an excellent director, but he was the Leonardo DiCaprio before Leonardo DiCaprio of snubbed directors for a long time, and then suddenly started having a bit of light. But yeah, I just think the vision for this is absolutely beautiful. Kenneth Branagh, I think, is an interesting one. I think I haven't seen Belfast in its entirety. I've just seen parts of it. I think he really should. I think he's going to be put in the I don't think he will win, because I think that the other films he directed, Death on the Nile this year, which again I think is a good film and stuff, is getting a lot of dislike because of Armie Hammer and now Letitia Wright, who's going on full-on anti-vax, so much to the point where apparently they're changing the ending of Black Panther 2 because of her rants and stuff. So I think you end up being sort of marred by association, and I think that
it's true.
He may end up having some people not like him because of his casting choices way before, bearing in mind this was shot a long time ago. Definitely not.
It was shot a long time ago.
Since then, two of his stars have fallen from grace, and as such, I think he may be punished for that. I don't think it's necessarily going to happen, but there is a chance that he will be slightly tainted. But yeah, if he doesn't win it, which would be a shame, I think I want Steven Spielberg. So I'll say Steven Spielberg I want to win, but I think it will be Jane Campion.
Yeah, cool. Sacha, what are your picks?
I totally agree with you guys. I mean, what's it? For me, it's a flip coin between Branagh and Spielberg. Power of the Dog, seriously, man, I don't even think it should be on the list, to be fair. Licorice Pizza I really enjoyed, but you know what? Belfast really blew it out the park, and Drive My Car can fuck off, because that was 3 hours of my life I'll never get back. But yeah, no. Steven Spielberg or Kenneth Branagh. Okay. I want Belfast to win, to be honest. I really want Branagh to take that home. But yeah, it'll be that's the one I want to win. I wouldn't be upset if Steven Spielberg won it, because that was excellently crafted, and the guy's the GOAT. You know what I mean? But with I can honestly see Power of the Dog winning it, to be honest. Not because it's the movie that deserves it, just because of politics, I think. So yeah.
Okay. All right. So moving on to our final category, we have Best Picture. Best Picture nominations are Nightmare Alley, Don't Look Up, Dune, Drive My Car, Belfast, Licorice Pizza, The Power of the Dog, West Side Story, King Richard, and Coda. So, are there any movies that should have been on the Best Picture list that are not? First of all,
The Duel.
Me personally, yeah, I would say The Last Duel could have been on there. Probably
House of Gucci.
I mean, there's no reason why you couldn't put. Yeah, House of Gucci. There's no reason why Spider-Man: No Way Home couldn't have been on there. But they don't go for those blockbuster movies. But was it one of the 10 best pictures of the year? Probably most people would have put it in their lists. The average cinema goer at least would have put it in their top 10 films of the year. But there we go. Any other films?
Damn, I just got rid of my list.
No.
No, but I think I've spoken about all the films.
Okay, well, we can touch on
that
it.
were kind of
So,
snubbed. So yeah.
yeah. So I think for me, I think Best Picture is going to go to Power of the Dog, as much as I don't want it to. But the best film for me of the year on that list is Coda. I just think it's such a brilliant movie. It's completely moving. It's CODA is an acronym for basically child of deaf adults, and that's what it is. It's about this young girl coming of age kind of thing. Both her parents are deaf, her brother's deaf. She's the only one who can hear. She pretty much has to help negotiate them through life. She has to get up every morning, go fishing with her dad and brother, and be sort of that the translator for the people they're working around. And it kind of shows how much they've relied on her, that they haven't tried to make the efforts themselves in terms of being able to communicate with people who can speak as well. So it does show kind of both sides of it. It's about her wanting to go and do her own thing, but how much her family rely on her, and her struggle with wanting to find her own path and being that support mechanism for her family. Some really beautiful performances in it. Like I said, Emilia Jones, she should have been nominated for Best Actress. Troy Kotsur, who should be the winner for Best Supporting. Marley Matin as well. She was fantastic in it. Could have been a Best Supporting Actress nod for her as well. So yeah, there's so much love. I have so much love for this picture. It's in my top 10 films of the year easily, and for me, it should be the winner of this. But I don't think it's going to be, unfortunately. I hope I'm wrong. Greg, where are you at?
I haven't seen Coda, so I can't agree with that. Although it does sound like it's the sort of film I would love, and I would immediately agree with the sentiment behind it. Unfortunately, I think that it'll be Power of the Dog as well. Of the films that I have seen, and I'm going to stick to those ones. I think King Richard was okay. I think West Side Story is great and stuff, and it could be a contender. I'm just glad. I'm glad that Don't Look Up is represented. I don't think if I'd seen all the pictures that it would be the best of all of them, but I think that it's been generally snubbed quite a lot. There weren't any supporting actors and actresses or stuff really. Well, not really, just at all. It's just got no love really. So I almost want it, not because I think it's the best, but I almost want it to win just because it's been snubbed elsewhere. And I think that it is a very interesting sort of take on modern society, and a little quite close to home with looks at the Trump administration and the craziness in and around COVID and stuff. So I think it's a good film at the right time. So I don't think it's probably the best film on the list, but as I haven't seen the whole list, I'm going to put that as my want to win, almost to make up for the fact that it's been snubbed in other categories. I think that Power of the Dog will win, though. I think it's almost a certain, guaranteed.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, so many performances in there actually, even on their own. So even like Meryl Streep could have won a Best Supporting for that film, as opposed to maybe Judy Dench in Belfast. Cate Blanchett was fantastic in it.
Yeah.
There's some really, really strong performances in there.
I don't know how much
Jennifer Lawrence even.
See, I mean, a while ago I would have said I don't know how much the fact that it was a made for Netflix type movie would affect it, but that clearly isn't the case, as Power of the Dog is just smashing home. But it was a very popular film. It was the second most streamed film off of Netflix of all time, and it's like it was absolutely loved, but it's just not getting much love. So yeah, as I said, I don't think it's the best, but I think that I want it almost to make up for the fact that it's been snubbed for its performances. Yeah.
Cool. Sacha, over to you.
Yeah. This is a tough one because I keep looking at Belfast because I want to say Dune. I really want to say Dune, but Dune is only half a movie. Okay. The movie's fantastic, but it is only half a movie. Until we get the second half or the second chapter, then cool. But even then, that'll be another half of a movie. So I can't honestly put Dune on there, even though I really want to. However, West Side Story is a huge contender there. Coda as well. But you know what? When I look at those from the list, the movie that stands out to me is Belfast. believe it or not.
Mm-hmm.
Really did enjoy that. Thought it was a fantastic movie. I think it's a very well made movie. It's not a movie that did anything different or tried to be the biggest of the best. It's just a well crafted, well told tale, really, and I really enjoyed it. But yeah, when I look at like other films on the list, like Drive My Car, out of the international films, how was that the best one, man? Worst Person in the World, fantastic movie. But you know what? The Hand of God, the Italian film, The Hand of God,
yeah.
that really spoke to me. That was probably my favorite film out of the films that were on the international list. And I was like, to be honest, if that film was in this category right here, I would say The Hand of God, hands down.
Right, okay.
Worst Person in the World, really, really good film. Really good film. Probably better than half of the ones that are up on here, to be honest. I did really enjoy Licorice Pizza as well. But I wouldn't necessarily put that as a best picture film for some reason. Maybe it's a me thing, I don't know. But then now that I've said it, maybe I would. I don't know, because I would watch Licorice Pizza again for myself, because there's stuff in it that I really really did enjoy about it. But yeah, I'd have to go with Belfast, then Coda. But yeah, I don't want to see Powder Dog get it. I definitely don't want to see what was the other one? The car film. The Slow and the Grumpy.
Yeah, Drive My Car. So do you think that Power of the Dog will win it though?
I think Netflix are really pushing for that one to win a lot. Don't get me wrong. Okay, I didn't think it was as bad as, like, say, Ken made out to be, because Ken really was hating on it, and I went in with lowest expectations. I wasn't expecting to like it, but you know what? I watched it. I enjoyed it for what it was. I thought the ending really makes that film, to be honest. If it wasn't for the ending, it was like, wow, that was a fucking boring ass movie. But no, the ending really did make it. I'm not going to spoil it, but I thought it was really well done. And I think that held the whole movie together, basically. Upon that, it's not a movie that I care to watch. A lot of the nominations are greatly exaggerated. We haven't touched upon stuff like best screenplay and stuff like that, and I do think it's a good screenplay, because you can tell that was a movie where they had the plot and the ending really made it. But best picture, best actor, best actress, best support, no, get the fuck out of here with that, man. I think that's the strong contender to win, because it's fucking in everything. But I think it would be a big injustice if it did, because there's a lot of better power players. West Side Story is 10 times the movie this movie is. Nightmare Alley as well. King Richards as well. Like, I would rate that over Power of the Dog. I'd watch that again. But yeah, no, for me, for the list here, Belfast, man. Like, let Kenneth Branagh have his due, man.
What's really interesting, there's been an interesting point brought up about, when we think of genre movies, things that aren't dramas and biopics and things that the Academy are automatically going to love. When we think of genre movies like sci-fi or fantasy or comic book movies and stuff, there seems to be a very, very interesting divide where there goes past a point where it's too out there and it's too popcorny, and it won't get the love, and then everything else gets sort of damned for being in that category. Like, the fact that Endgame and Infinity War were not in categories which include best pictures and some good acting is shocking, compared to the fact that it just got all the technicals. And these things always get the technicals and stuff, but it's a shame, especially like Infinity War and Endgame for Best Picture, because they were amazing. But for the same reason, I don't think Dune will stand a chance. Maybe it will have the Return of the King thing, as I said, where it will get the love when it's a complete movie, but I just don't think it will. And I think Scorsese and people making comments and Coppola making comments about these not being real things is shocking and is not going to help the cause. So I'll be interesting. I'll hold this judgment for a year until we'll see how much the Batman gets love? Is it done enough to be away from it? But, you know, even acting is never considered in it, with the exception of Heath Ledger. That was really only because he died. I know that's harsh, but I think it was because it was posthumous that he won and got so much love. But yeah, it's a story for another podcast, I think, because it's a very interesting discussion. But I don't know if Dune even ever stands a chance in Best Picture because it's still too sci-fi for the Academy.
Yeah, I mean, there's some lessons to be learned really from Lord of the Rings in a sense of, you know, first couple didn't get the wins that it probably should have, but the third one did. So you could argue that yes, Dune is only one part, but you know, a lot of people felt that the Fellowship of the Ring should have won a lot more than it did. So, but for me, because so much of Dune was flash forwards to the second part that we haven't seen yet, kind of takes away from it a little bit. But look, there's so many more categories we could talk about. Like we said, writing, original screenplay, adapted screenplay, sound, short films, music, scores. You know, I think there's definitely categories there which Doom will win in terms of like music, original score and stuff like that. But a couple of shout outs in case you didn't know, these are now Oscar nominated movies. Coming to America for makeup and hairstyling. Cruella, Disney's Cruella, makeup and hairstyling. And House of Gucci, they get a nomination there as well, makeup and hairstyling. So, but yeah, we could go on for probably another hour talking about these categories. So I think we're all kind of on the same page. I think we all kind of know that Power of the Dog is probably a forerunner for a lot of these categories. We hope they don't win most of them. But, you know, let us know if you're a fan of the Power of the Dog. Have we missed the point of the movie? Are we completely wrong? Have we missed out some, you know, people that should have been nominated? So let us know your thoughts in the comments. But any final thoughts from you gentlemen at all before we sign off?
I just hope some of the curveballs in each category. I hope the Power of the Dog doesn't do as well because it loses out just in each category. It just gets beaten by the just close second, maybe. But yeah, it would be nice. I just think when there are, my favourite thing about the Oscars is when something is a presumed favourite almost, and then it loses out. For a start, there is no much more fun to be had during award ceremonies to watch the really, really sort of faux smiles of the people who've just lost what they were almost guaranteed to win is freaking hilarious.
I just want another Moonlight fiasco.
I'm really happy for you. And let's hope that shit happens because that's always funny. Moonlight, La La Land is brilliant. But no, I hope they call out Power of the Dog and then they realise that Warren Beatty or someone has screwed up again, and that would make my day. But no, unfortunately, I think it's. I like it when it goes against the grain, where it throws a few curveballs in there. Certainly makes it more interesting. So.
Okay.
I think
Sacha's talked about maybe doing a live stream to do the actual Oscars on a live stream. So. Originally, I said no, but I'm getting more and more tempted to potentially do that. So
there has to be a drinking game involved. Night. We need to create rules.
Yeah, yeah. Every time I mispronounce a producer's name, take a shot.
Yeah, done. Shot.
You're gonna your stomach
die on a live stream.
That's the case.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, if you'd like to see us do a live stream of the Oscars, let us know because if we get some people comment on the video, then I'll do it. If I don't get any comments, then I won't bother. So the power is in your hands. Right, well, thank you very much for joining me, gentlemen. Much appreciated. You can check out all our episodes, as usual, on YouTube. If you're not already, please make sure you like and subscribe. And if you're just listening to the podcast, you can check us out on all major podcast platforms, Apple, Google, Spotify, Audible. And if you like some independent podcasts, check out Good Pods, which is available on iOS and Android. It's fantastic for a lot of smaller independent podcasts. Make sure you check out the Geek Monty, who Jessen, who's been on our show. We've appeared on the Geek Monty as well. So Sacha and I appeared on an episode of the Geek Monty where we've been in depth on the new Spider-Man movies. That'll be dropping soon, so make sure you check these guys out. Right, thank you very much for joining us, and until next time, peace out.